Hello and welcome to the Sacred Gates podcast. My name is Illura. And today I wanted to do a podcast on how to grow ourselves spiritually, how to develop and expand and deepen our consciousness while living in a very mundane, day-to-day world. And sometimes when we want to develop our consciousness, we know that we can be more. We know that we're not really experiencing the full potential of our mind, of our awareness, of our consciousness. And we can sometimes fall into the illusion of thinking that in order for us to grow spiritually, we need to have these big, otherworldly experiences to really teach us and change us and help us to become, very spiritual. But what sometimes we forget in the day-to-day, in the very domestic, mundane activities of cleaning and cooking and working, and if you have children, there's, times that by like 100, and we can feel like that's all just boring and not part of our spiritual existence, and it's getting even in the way of us growing spiritually. And what I wanted to share is just my insight around this, is that if we were to grow only through these big, very sensational, very full of sensory, big impacting spiritual experiences, which do exist, if we were to only grow through those kinds of large one-time experiences that impacted us and just affected us and perfected us, life would be extremely rocky and crazy, and our journey of our spiritual development over our lifetime and continuing on would be a very extreme and unsustainable experience for anyone. And many of us do seek these experiences, whether it's consciously or unconsciously. Sometimes we do it by fasting, or we're working with a particular teacher, by taking certain drugs, all of the above of what I just said. There are many different breathing techniques, that pack breathing, that working with our minds and our bodies in a way that takes us to that edge and beyond. And so those experiences can cause us to unbalance ourselves so deeply that we then crave just to have the mundane, just to have the normal. And so in this video, I just wanted to help to share some ideas on this, in that if it were to only be in this shocky, big, impacting way, our development would be jeopardized. Our progression could not be nourishing and sustaining. It just isn't realistic. What is realistic is our day-to-day reality, which is often very mundane and filled with these experiences that we do over and over and over again, such as turning on the car and going for a drive, filling a basket full of shopping, paying for it, coming home, having a shower at the end of the day. So all of these experiences that we have every day of just the regular day-to-day can seem boring, and we call them mundane, but actually within that mundane experience, we're very, very lucky to have this repeated over and over again experience, because if we're trying to develop something new, it's much easier to develop something new in an environment and in a system and in habits that are old and that we know and that are very familiar. So we develop the unfamiliar through the familiar, just like a child needs a lot of familiarity, a lot of repetition in order to gain understanding through experience. And so the mundane experiences of the day-to-day are extremely important, and they kind of like drip feed, so that our experience of spiritual growth and development of the body and mind is safe, because it's incremental, and this way it's sustainable. And we want sustainable, because if we screw ourselves up through opening up the Kundalini too quickly beyond what our capabilities and skill set really are capable of, and there's many ways to do that, and I'd like to do a video on that. If we do that, we're kind of like, it's like breaking your leg. You're out of the game. If you're a soccer player and you break your leg, you really can't be part of what you love for quite some time, and then you have to go through rehab and train your body back to its optimum state. And this is what happens to people who open up their energy centers by plugging into a wattage that is way stronger than what their actual they're capable of, and their wattage is capable of. And so you have this sudden like shock of energy that completely blows you away because you're not ready for it. And so if we live just with the mundane and what is called the mundane in the domestic life, and we allow that to be the stage, the familiar stage where we can practice the new lines of the play kind of thing, then we're able to really develop quietly in our own life, progressing incrementally. And then when we go out into the outer world, or we go into a situation we might be presenting a talk or doing something quite unfamiliar, we've already trained the abilities that have meaning and purpose to us, and we're able to put them into practice in that less familiar situation out there in the world, or into a new relationship, into starting a new job, into whatever it might be that you are wanting to grow towards. And you're able to then be thankful and grateful for all that mundane. And it comes to my mind that a lot of people in the world, especially now at this point in time in 2020, and for many parts of the world which have very many daily unfortunate experiences for a long time compared to other parts of the world, that their day-to-day, they probably crave the mundane and just a really normal existence for family, for themselves, for the people that they love. But if people are always on the run trying to escape a country and seek safety in another country, or whatever it might be going on in their country, in their life, the mundane becomes very sacred. Or like I said, if you completely go overboard with your spirituality in a really brute force kind of way, and you lose your balance and you shock your system, many people I've seen really crave the mundane and crave normal, whatever their normal is. So within whatever is normal, mundane and domestic for you, I encourage you to find the familiarity in that a real gateway to spiritual development. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.